Welcome to the victorious life, where we every single day of this week of our Devos have been focusing on one truth. Whether you think it or not, or whether you believe it or not, you are called by God to have a victorious life. And sometimes those days seem the opposite of that. We seem like we're the victim. We seem like we're under attack. And we feel like we don't have the battle plans. We don't know how to get around what the enemy is throwing our way. Well, today I want to give you something that you can use as your golden ticket to defeat the enemy, and that is constantly embedded in our arsenal that never leaves, but most of us rarely recognize. And it's simply this. If you're under attack, it's simple. Submission to God is protection from attack. Submission to God is protection from attack. I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say, oh, I'm battling the enemy right now, or I'm battling a demon right now, or I'm in this battle, and you're doing all this battling and fighting and warring. And as Christians, yes, we are called to be soldiers. But the way that we win the battle, the way that we get the enemy to run, is by simply submitting our lives completely to God. Submitting our lives completely to God. Now, what that doesn't mean that if we live a wholly submitted life to God, that we're not going to face trials. That doesn't mean that if we live a life wholly submitted to God, that things are always going to go our way. But what that means is no matter what the enemy dishes our way, that the victory is ultimately going to be realized, because the greatest way to defeat the enemy is by submitting to God himself and allowing God to fight the battle for us. That's how you win the battle. Look with me in James chapter 4, verse 7. Perfect, straightforward truth. Submit yourselves, therefore, to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. The Bible has not called you to fight the devil. The Bible has called you to submit to Christ. The Bible has not called you to get into a wrestling match with evil forces. The Bible has called you to be Spirit-led, to be dwelling upon the presence of God, to be moving in step with what the Spirit would have you do, to submit yourself wholly to God, to resist temptation by submitting to God, to resist the calls and the draws of the world by submitting to God and realizing that it's in Christ, it's in God that our wholeness is realized. That's how you win. The best way to fight the battle is to submit, not to the enemy, but to the Lord. And when you do, he goes before you, and it makes the enemy flee. I think, and I'm going to try this off the top of my head, but I think I'm going to butcher it. The devil trembles when he sees the weakest believer on their knees. Even if you think you're weak, even if you think you don't have any power, just submitting to God and recognizing that that power is his and it comes from Christ alone, the enemy is toast. The victory is yours. You have a victorious life because Christ provided it for you. So start praying, start living, and start walking in light of that truth.